Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Gabriella, and I'm very excited today to have Anita Govender here with me. And we are going to talk about some amazing healing and transformation. She is a belief transformation specialist, and I am super fortunate that I had some conversation with her and a healing session that was really successful. So, Anita, I just want to hand it over to you and tell me a little bit about yourself and whatever you like to start sharing with people.
Hi, Gabriella. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and spend some time with you and your audience. Yes, so I do belief transformation work. So pretty much getting to the root of what someone's issues are, where all their beliefs are formed. And once we take care of the emotional impact of those experiences that they've had, that causes their beliefs, and then they can drop them and then choose new beliefs for themselves. And yeah, I started doing this about over 12 years ago. Everything that I've learned led me to this place. And it's been quite a journey. It's been quite an exciting journey, one that I'm still enjoying.
That is really wonderful. And would you walk us through a little bit, like how this works when you meet with somebody, how the sessions work? And I know you also do some a transformation course, but when you form a connect, it's a really in-depth connection that you form with somebody because this is a really at least on my experiments with you, it goes down really deep. We went back into my childhood and I hugged my little self, and it
Yes.
was like, wow, I can do that. So if you want to walk us through a little bit of like how would a session go as an example so people can understand like what is it that you're doing.
Okay. So when someone comes to me with an issue that they're having, and something that they're experiencing. And I'll use an example of a client or someone that I worked with that was very open about her experience. So I will speak to that so that it just grounds it more clearly as to what a session would look like. So I had someone who grew up in a very religious family, and she was a Jehovah's Witness. And at age 20, she got pregnant and was ostracized from her family because that was just not acceptable. And so that was incredibly traumatizing for her. And although that happened at age 20, the process that I'm describing can take place at any age in somebody's life, right? So it could even be an experience that somebody may have had when they were 5, for instance. So she was ostracized from her family because she decided to keep her baby, and she lost all contact with her family. So the topic of religion was incredibly traumatizing for her, even 20 years later. And in this period, she had reconnected with the family. She does spend time with them on occasion and that type of thing. But just the topic of religion was very triggering for her.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back in the session. I took her back to the time where she had the experience of finding out that she was pregnant, and when she was asked to leave her family home. And those were experiences where she was still the part of her that experienced this period of time was still stuck in those emotions. They were still
Oh.
stuck in that space. And so when I took her back there, and we, the process I call is reconcile and resolve. And she reconciled those two parts of her that had the experience and brought them back into safety and wholeness. That resolved it for her, because then she was able to let go of all the fear and the emotion that was stuck in that experience, the trauma that was associated with it, together with all the beliefs that she made up about herself from those experiences. So the result was that she could now, when she actually, right after I worked with her, about 2 days later, she went to visit her family and spent 8 days with them, something she had not done in the past 20 years. And she was not triggered a single time when anyone spoke about religion.
Mm-hmm.
She was not triggered with any of the emotions that came up from the past experience. It was, she could sit, she could listen, she could engage, and it was just normal. And that was quite something. And she said she'd never had that experience in 20 years. So the emotional detachment from the experience was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave her her power back. So that's the empowerment piece, to be able to say, well, I'm not held by that anymore. And the freedom of just simply being herself. You know, she could just sit, listen, contribute to a conversation, and that's it, and not be triggered by it. So it was life changing for her.
That is so wonderful. And how does it make you feel when you hear these experiences? So you work with these people, and then you hear their life transformation experiences based on something you done. So I'm kind of curious, how does that make you feel? And what is the experience also for you guiding people through this process?
So I constantly say that I don't know that anybody enjoys what they do more than I do. And I know
That's
that
so
there are
great.
people, and I know obviously there are people that do, but this is how I feel. And even though, excuse me, I hear really difficult things about
Hmm.
someone's experience, I know that the reason I'm hearing them is for the purpose of healing.
Hmm.
I always say that I hear what you have to say, and I start the work with you at the now what. You've heard my story, now what? So
Hmm.
we move on with the healing. And it makes me feel so energized and uplifted, because in all honesty, I'm witnessing this transformation happen right in front of my eyes, you know.
Yes.
Um, and that feeling is just to be able to know, like, that person's life is going to be better. You know,
Hmm.
they've spent an hour or 2 hours with me, but their life is going to be better. It's going to change for the better. There's
Hmm.
that feeling is just so exhilarating.
Yeah.
And it's why I love what I do. And you know, the way that I work is, because you mentioned earlier the 4 week course that I do.
Yes.
You know, I want to work with someone over a short period of time, but give them the maximum impact and results so
Hmm.
they can go on with their lives. That's my aim. Now, that makes my job a little bit more difficult, because it means I have to work with new people all the time, right? But I'm okay with that, because I don't want to have people feel like they have to devote 3, 6, 12 months of their time, their energy, and their life to the healing process. If I can do this with you in 4 weeks, then why not? You
Hmm.
know, why not? And
Absolutely.
just have you go on and live your life. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean to say that you're not going to experience challenges or you're not going to feel anything. But what it does say is, with this work, it puts the past to rest, if you will, in a
Hmm.
major way. You just respond differently. It's not a knee-jerk reaction to what life is throwing at you anymore. It's just simply, you respond differently. You're able to handle challenges differently, because you're not triggered from experiences from the past. Um, so it's really quite a special feeling for me to be able to do this with someone. I really love it and enjoy it. And um, yeah, just being able to witness what happens in front of me is, it's quite something. It's what keeps me coming back.
Yes, that is wonderful. Um, what is the most maybe unique experience that you had, either personally or with someone, without obviously, saying who the person was, but
Mhm.
if there's something that pops to mind that you would like to share.
I think one of the most what was unique about one, so we talk about with a lot of clients that I've dealt with, it's about talking about experiences that they've had in this period, in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And um, there was one person that I worked with where he couldn't relate to an experience that happened in this lifetime that caused him to feel
Mm-hmm.
the way he did about certain things. And so we still did the reconcile and resolve session, which is the session that the visualization that we go into to heal the past experiences. I still went in and did the visualization with him to reconcile and resolve, and he found that he was actually bringing up a memory which he said to me was from a previous lifetime. That's possibly what he felt was happening with him, and I thought, oh, I didn't do that before. So, but we just went with it,
That's
and
great.
he had quite a release from that.
Mm-hmm.
um, and he definitely felt a whole lot better, and like he had released some stuck energy that was within him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite amazing. And I do understand that there are some things that I would say to people that I don't know about them, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel the pull to bring up a certain um, kind of visualization or something. And I often get asked, well, how did you know that? That I like this, or this is what was my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. It felt right for me to bring up that particular image, and so I did. So that's quite special because I get surprised too. I don't know what's going to come.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I do believe that we are all connected in one way and another, and especially when you're doing a healing work like that, that is so intimate, then the connection becomes stronger, and you can tune into the senses of the other person, and whatever they need probably come to you as well as it comes to them, and um, yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Healing a past life problem. Wow, that's
And that really did surprise me, and I thought, well, okay, I guess that's something else that
yeah,
I
let's do
do
it.
too. But and I think one of the reasons that we actually followed through with that was because of the deep level of trust that
Hmm.
he had in me, and
Hmm.
that he felt safe enough to
Hmm.
say this is what he's experiencing and feeling and that kind of thing. And I think that goes a really long way because, as you mentioned, this is such deep and personal work
Yeah,
that you have to feel and know that you can trust the person that is doing this with you.
absolutely.
That comfort, because you're so vulnerable, in that space, and to know that somebody can help you through it and hold you, sort of hold your hand through it, even though, like, we did it over Zoom, which I do with a lot of my clients, but um, just that feeling of that safety is there, and that's really important.
Yeah, it's really amazing that it doesn't really matter where you are anymore with that's the one plus of the internet. You
Yeah.
can connect with people all over the world. It's wonderful to be close to each other, but when you cannot, like I would love to meet you in person and do
Yep.
something in person, but when you cannot, then you are still able to achieve what you do through the skin. The energy and the feeling and the healing can still take place
Yes.
no matter what the distance is. So that I think that's pretty amazing.
Yes, that I've noticed that in as much as I love the personal interaction and being
Hmm.
with someone, I notice that it doesn't make a difference whether we're face to face or if it's online. The effect of it is still the same, and I'm so thankful for that because it just means I can work with anyone anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Um, is there something that, like if you could say anything to the world or anything to the people who potentially need your support, um, what would you tell them?
Um, that there is a way to not just cope and deal with what your experiences were like. There is a way to actually bring healing to that. So you don't have to deal and cope. You can actually put it to rest. And the reason I say this is because, um, I had listened to a call, and I really felt for these women because both were talking about having come out of abusive relationships. And it
Mhm.
had been, you know, years since they've been removed from those situations.
Mhm.
They're both with new partners that treat them very well, that love and care for them. And there was still the reference to having to overcome their feelings of not feeling safe in a moment because they were drawing on the experience from the past. Even
Mhm.
though they know logically, I know he's not going to do the same thing to me. I
Yeah.
know he's not going to treat me the way I was treated before. Like logically, they knew it, but their bodies were experiencing a different reaction to it. And they have to keep calming themselves down and telling themselves it's okay. And that's what I mean. It's like when you heal that completely, you don't have to be in that space anymore. And so that's what I want to say to people is that there is more than just coping and dealing with.
Mhm.
There's healing. There's absolute healing. That's really what I'd like to share. Um, so when Gabriella, to be quite honest with you, I always I tell people I can explain what I do, but in all honesty, it is an experience.
And it truly is. I love that. We had a session together, and I had no idea what it was gonna come up, and it was so beautiful, and I felt immediately, even though we just met, like literally we had a
Mhm.
quick chat before, but that I could fully trust you, that you're not gonna hurt or exploit or do anything like anyway. Like it and then it was beautiful, and I felt such a good relief after that. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize that that issue has been there for me my whole life, literally, since I was 2 years old. And yeah, it was such a beautiful release and a beautiful um, session that it is one of the best healing experiences in my life that I had. So thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for saying, oh my goodness. Um, you know, um, it's it's a very common misconception that people feel like um, if they had the experience and it happened when they were younger, that I don't think about it, it doesn't affect me. That's
Hmm.
actually not true. It really does drive every decision that you make, all the choices that you're faced with and the choices that you end up making. It drives all of that. And as you had seen as well, we join the dots of those experiences and how it's relating to life today. Like you said, you didn't even realize that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And it was so interesting because until we actually started the session, I didn't even know what is going to come up or what is it going to be about. So that was also pretty um, magical, I think, that you might not know what's going on. You might just know that there's something off. And then as we started the conversation, it's like, oh, well, let's explore this
Mhm,
issue, and
mhm.
and uh, and it just naturally come up whatever needed to come up. So I I think that was great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do have the ability to see that and join those dots easily for people because a lot of time it's like, whoa, I never thought about that. It's like, yeah, but if because it's not the exact same experience.
Hmm.
So as the outsider that's pulled back, I can look and I can see like, okay, wait, that happened. This is what they told themselves, and see, I can see how it's related to what's happening today. So it makes a big difference,
Yeah.
to be able to pull back and see that. So yeah, and that's exactly, I think, the same thing that you found as well. So
Yeah, I think when we live our life, we are in it. So sometimes it's also harder to see when you are in it and to look back, okay, how the events are all connected. But when you step back and you can look at it as a healer from an outside, it's like, oh, well,
yeah.
let's check this out.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
and it's even, and it also is, another thing that I really would like to mention to it is, um it doesn't necessarily have to be anything that anyone considers as like traumatic
yeah.
or
Hmm.
abusive or anything like that. It really, what matters is how you felt
Hmm.
in that given moment.
Yeah.
That's what matters. And if you had that ouch, that kind of feeling, then it affects you. It has some
Yeah.
kind of a hold on you. Yeah.
I think what was truly magical for me that I
Mm,
didn't even know it. I didn't
mm.
even know that I had that ouch, as you say, or that kind of pain in it until we started to explore it. And it's like, oh, this was what's happening. And then it made perfect sense after. And now it's like, how did you not see that? But yeah, so I think it's pretty amazing what you do. So thank you so much for providing all that healing. And if people want to reach out or find you, what would be the best way for them to find you? And we can put all that, of course, below the video as well.
Absolutely. So my website is the best place. It is beliefs180.com. So that's BELIEFS 180.com. Yeah. And Gabriella, if you don't mind my asking, what has changed for you since you went through the session? What have you noticed that was different for you?
I almost feel like that there is like one layer of like if you look at us like layers of onions or layers of
Yeah.
blankets that go in and out as we are really complex human beings. Uh, I almost feel like that one layer is kind of like lifted. Like
Mm,
imagine like a blanket, kind of like, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm just kind of done with that feeling. I can move on with my life and not have that resentment or that kind of an emotion attached of, I think, a certain type of fear
mm-hmm,
um, of
mm-hmm,
being left alone or left behind or something like that.
mm-hmm.
Um, by going back and comforting myself and then reuniting with all the parts as you were talking about, um, which my experience is pretty magical, which I think we can maybe even do
Yes.
like another session to talk about that. Because it was truly amazing. But I think it kind of feels like that one layer just kind of like, okay, I recognize this. I went back and not fixed it, but become more whole in a way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And that's really the bottom line, is it? The freedom and the empowerment that comes from it, because it's exactly as you described. I let go of that. That's the freedom, and then the empowerment from where you make new choices now
Yeah.
that are
Well,
in alignment with who you are. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very appreciative and excited that we did that because that's just like you can just do that. That is so great. You can just feel better just like that. Just talk to Anita for, you know, an hour
I,
and life is
I
all
love,
better.
yes, I have the magic wand, right? Because
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's quite amazing that you've used magical to describe your experience. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Well, it's been such a pleasure, and I hope we'll have many more conversations and collaborations together. I kind of see that in our future, hopefully. So, again, thank you so much for speaking with me, Anita, and I will include all your information below this video if people want to reach out and have some more magical experiences and sessions with you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Have a lovely day and hope to see
You
you
too.
soon. Take care.
Absolutely. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.